like some gifts, like I said, they aren't good gifts, and they come with a lot of heartache and stress. Okay, but those good gifts come from God. And then once again, going back to my point here is that fear of God. So by fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. So by that reverential awe, the admiration, come those riches, and then honor. Like that's somebody giving that to you of their own free will, not because you strong arming them and or making them or disrespecting them or humiliating them to the point where they kind of bow down to you. That's not the kind of honor it's just talking about. This is talking about a real honor. Once again, that admiration and that respect that comes from fearing the Lord and life. So when I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, when we were talking about liberty, we were talking about how you have liberty, but it's not just basically being out here and being reckless and aimless, but with everything or with anything. But it's liberty or freedom with bounds, with boundaries, and so that's this life here. With that fear of the Lord. So once again, you're living, you're enjoying, you're having a good time, but there's this respect and admiration for God. So there's certain things I'm just not gonna do. Okay, it's not about you. It's about my fear of the Lord. Humiliation is to cause a painful loss of pride, self-respect, or dignity to someone else. Okay. In contrast, or basically in direct opposition of that, is humility. Humility means a modest opinion of one's own importance. Okay. So being humble is an individual's choice, while being humiliated is a situation an individual is thrust into by another. So thought these were important to talk about today, because I think people don't really get what the difference is a lot of times, and they look at humility as a bad thing, and it's not. It's having a modest opinion of one's own importance. So basically, like the Bible says, don't think of yourself more highly than you are. Are you in charge of your next breath? Are you in charge of that? Like, do you have control over that? Do you know when your last breath will be? And if you can't answer yes, then you ought to be more humble. You ought to have some humility and stop thinking of yourself more highly than you ought to. And then looking at this humility is basically not being conceited, is being humble, and looking at yourself as equal with your brother. You may be better than them at something, but I'm sure if we looked long enough, and probably we don't even have to look hard, we could find something that they are better at than you. That's that humility. It's having a modest opinion of oneself. So, and it's also being willing to listen. I think that's vital. That's vital to this conversation, is being willing to listen in terms of this humility, because I think oftentimes we don't listen with an open heart. I think people listen waiting to talk. Okay, or even not even waiting to talk, because a lot of times if you look at people, like they're talking at the same time in the conversation. So nobody's listening to anybody, so humility will cause you to pause, and to once again honor and to respect this person that is trying to communicate with you. And hopefully, in seeing that, the other person will pause and give you an opportunity to also share your thinking. So this is Proverbs 11:2. Proverbs 11:2. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. So I was talking about humility on the other page as being, basically a situation that you thrust someone else into, criticizing, condemning them. But then here on the other side too, we can cause it basically humiliation to ourselves. Okay, it says here, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. So in that, like I was saying, I feel like a lot of times, like, we don't listen enough. And so with that, you're constantly talking. And then sometimes, as you're talking, you're exposing your own foolishness.
Mm.
Okay. And that's the pride that won't allow us, and I'm saying us because I feel like everybody's guilty, doesn't allow us to hear ourselves, and or even if we do, to not even make a change, to not even stop and make a change, to not even apologize for our actions or for our words. And that's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. But with humility comes wisdom. So in hearing that, and thinking of myself in a modest way and having a modest opinion of myself, I consider the possibility that I may not be right in the situation. And I act on that. I may go and apologize to the person, and we should, if we are wrong in the situation, and even in our assessment of the situation, apologize. And it doesn't matter to who it is or to whom it is. If it's a child, if it's an adult, in our haste, we made a wrong judgment. So we need to go and fix it. We need to fix it. So don't let pride, get in your way and cause you to be a disgrace, because I think even with children, especially with children, I'm going to say they are more resilient, more flexible, more forgiving, and adults, like, they'll hold stuff, they'll hold stuff against you real quick. Nah, she don't mean it. She just mean and nasty like that. Whereas, it may have taken a lot for you to do that. But then in that case, you have to look at it as being a reward for you, a building of your character, and not, whether or not this person accepted your apology or accepted you admitting your fault. Okay, once again, it is because it's really about you. Remember, we were reading those verses in James where it said, "Don't run from the tests and trials," because they're building something in you. So then you got to probably turn that situation around and look at it as a test or trial that you went through. Yes, you misinterpreted something. You tried to fix it, and the person was not receptive. Only thing you can control is what you can control. Everything else is out of your hands. You did your part. So you just look at that, count that as a mark for yourself. You did your part. And one thing that was said over the weekend, I think this was Saturday morning, was recognize when you are in the presence of free people and listen. There's a difference. This spoke to me about humility. I feel like in times when I'm in the presence of someone that may be able to provide value to me, that could get me to the next level, I think I haven't always been willing to listen. Because I feel like even like even listening to the guy that does the mastermind. I mean, he talks a lot. He talks a lot. So and I've been like with him for years, following him for years, and listening to his different teachings. So you become familiar with people. So you do quit hearing, just like a child with their parents. They quit hearing, and that is definitely not wise. Okay, it's not the right thing to do. And so that goes back to that recognition, who you're in the presence of. Okay, this person has experience and something that I desire to attain. And because I don't have or have not attained, what my desire is, and they have, I'm a fool for not listening, for taking in all their knowledge, all their wisdom, all their understanding in this matter. Part here where it says, free people. A lot of people in the group, or a few people in the group, I'm gonna put it that way, a few people in this group, mastermind group, they have basically honed and perfected their skills to the point where they don't work for money anymore. They can go in the market, make their money, and be done with it. So they don't go to work every day for money. So for me, and for I think for a lot of people hearing that, well, for me, I'm going to talk about for me real quick. So for me, in hearing that, that is a goal that I have, is to be able to do that. I want my what we call walkaway money in my other investment group. Is I want my walkaway money. So to the point where like I have enough money that my money makes money so that I don't work for money. My money makes the money. Saying when you're in the presence of free people, listen, because they're teaching you, they're telling you, and it's not big things really that have to change. It's the small things that you need to change. You're thinking, I mean, that's major. You're thinking, but then as you continue to grow, so you got to keep on listening, and hearing the things like he's saying, like stay off social media so much. You spend hours and hours on social media when it was hours and hours that you could be learning something or creating something, but you waste your time. Okay, and then once again, hours and hours, watching TV, where you could be once again learning something or creating something. Okay, you could be even sitting and listening to yourself. Like these are things that people just don't do. We don't want to sit down and be quiet. I do it all the time, but I'm just talking about most people. They don't want to be quiet. You can't stand quiet. You have to have a TV on, radio on, something on all the time. But this goes back to that humility. Are you willing to hear that you need to make a change? Are you willing to take the necessary steps to make the change? And I was going to say for myself is like, I feel like I fall short because the goals have been there, but I haven't attained the goals yet. And many of these people have started after me and they have attained the goal. Okay. So I just look at it as like, okay, so the parts where I have not been willing to hear, those are the things that I'm missing. Whereas, now being in this mastermind is like, and like I said, it's every day, every morning, 8:00 sharp, the meeting starts. So now hearing it every day, I'm just able to now to keep track of my thinking and where I fall short and the things that I need to change. And hearing and then doing what I hear to do, those are my things.